You're listening to episode 1 of the Radiance Source, the red dye number 3 ban, science, snacks, and the end of a synthetic epic.
The Radiance Source, where beauty gets clinical.
Welcome to the Radiance Source, the science-smart beauty podcast decoding trends, headlines, and health breakthroughs with clinical expertise and cultural context. I'm your host, Dr. Orie. Half my time's in the clinic, the other under a microscope, so you get the inside scoop on what's actually worth knowing in skincare, wellness, and beauty science. Today is the inaugural episode of the Radiance Source. We're going to dive right in to a topic that's been all over headlines and hidden in your snack drawer, the FDA's recent decision to ban red dye number 3 in foods and ingested drugs. Wait, you thought that stuff was banned years ago? As did I. Turns out it was only banned from cosmetics back in the 1990s. It's still hanging around in your candy, your cereal, and your kids' medicine. So what exactly is red dye number 3? Why is it suddenly a public enemy? And how is this going to change your shopping list? Well, let's talk. Red dye number 3, aka erythrocene, is a synthetic food dye made from petroleum and iodine. That's right, petroleum. Tasty? It's been used since the early 1900s to make foods, drinks, and pills look prettier, especially pinks and reds in candies, sodas, baked goods, and even supplements. Think of the conversation hearts you gift on Valentine's, cherry cough syrup, and those frosted toaster pastries you loved as a kid. Now here's the news. In early 2025, the FDA officially banned red dye number 3 in food and ingested medications based on evidence from animal studies linking it to thyroid cancer and DNA damage. That decision falls under the Delaney Clause, a regulation that says if an additive causes cancer in animals at any dose, it's not allowed in food. If you're wondering why this matters, here's red dye's dirty laundry. Okay, red dye number 3 didn't just fall out of favor overnight. It's been on thin ice for decades. Here are the big 3 reasons scientists and advocacy groups have been side-eyeing this additive for years. Number 1, the hormonal mayhem. Animal studies have linked it to thyroid tumors, and researchers believe it messes with how your thyroid functions by disrupting iodine absorption and blocking enzymes that help make hormones, your body's little messengers. Some data even suggests it might mimic estrogen in the body, which could raise the risk for hormone-sensitive cancers like breast and endometrial cancer. And then there's the DNA damage angle. This means your genetic blueprint is on the table, not the vibe, right? Number 2, brain plus neurohealth. Yes, your brain. Studies in rats show that this food additive can increase oxidative stress, reduce antioxidants, and flub up how neurons communicate. Translation: it may impact brain function, especially in people with cognitive vulnerabilities. In fact, there was a study in the Journal of Applied Toxicology published in 2024 that raised real red flags on this one. Take note if conditions like anxiety, depression, and neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's are on your radar. Number 3, behavior and mood. This one might sound familiar to you. Food dyes have long been suspected of triggering hyperactivity, especially in children. While the science isn't 100% conclusive, studies suggest that kids with ADHD or sensitivities may be more likely to experience irritability, mood shifts, or focus issues when exposed to additives. like red dye number 3. So yeah, this isn't just about candy. This is about the chemistry of how we feel. But don't panic. Here's what you need to know before you go dumping out your pantry. This whole red dye number 3 showdown isn't an emergency recall. It's a precautionary measure. The studies were done on animals at higher doses than most humans would normally consume. That's why the FDA is acting now, to prevent cumulative exposure and long-term effects, even though your current risk is likely low. This ban is all about the big guys looking out for you. If you've been using products as directed, you're probably just fine. This is about raising the bar, not fear-mongering. And let me address the elephant in the room. The million-dollar question is, why were we using this synthetic food additive in the first gosh darn place? Short answer, because it made our food look pretty. You've heard the saying that you eat with your eyes first. Well, the science behind that is called visual priming, which is rooted in sensory perception and cognitive psychology, where visual inputs shape our taste experience. Brands had to capitalize on this science to make us want to eat. So red dye number 3 gave manufacturers a cheap, stable way to make things look artificially fruity and festive, so you start salivating. When they noticed that we were all asking for second helpings, it became widely used in food and drug manufacturing, and it has stayed that way. Grandfathered in under older regulations while we waited on newer research. It wasn't until now, decades after banning it in lipstick, we finally have the data needed to act. And here's that timeline. For food products, red dye number 3 must be phased out by January 2027. For ingested drugs, the pharmaceutical world is working against a January 2028 deadline. You'll still see red dye on labels after that, but it'll likely be red dye number 40, which is still FDA approved, though not without its own controversies. How are brands reacting? Honestly, most saw this coming. Many companies have already started switching to natural alternatives like beet extract, purple sweet potatoes, red cabbage, lycopene from tomatoes, radish or black carrots, and carmine from insects, not vegan-friendly, but stable as heck. In some cases, these swaps even add nutritional value like antioxidants and phytonutrients to foods. So the golden question, will things cost more, look different? Probably a little. Natural dyes are pricier and not as easy to work with as synthetic ones. So you might notice subtle changes in color or price in some of your favorite treats and products. While that might not be what you wanted to hear, the upside is that this shift is a win for cleaner formulation, smarter consumption, and long overdue change for our health and safety. Bottom line, this food additive was never about your needs. It was about aesthetics. And now, after decades of scrutiny, the science has spoken. We're swapping out visual fluff to put cleaner food and meds in our bodies. So next time you grab a snack, pop a supplement, or look at a label, you'll know why that bright red might look a little less neon. And honestly, that's a glow up. Thanks for tuning in to the Radiance Source. If today's episode made you smarter about your skin, your health, or just your shopping cart, leave a review, share it with a friend, or tag us on social. For more on today's episode, head on over to theradiancesource.com. Until next time, keep your skincare and wellness smart and your standards higher.